Good morning, Nick Collier here. We're back at it, and this morning I spent a little bit of time getting that other ring or nut set up so that it would fit on the threads. And so we're all set up, and now what we need to do is square off some edges on here so we can put a wrench on that. And of course I'm going to need to build a wrench to fit this, because this is like, you know, almost 4 inches wide. I don't think you can buy a wrench. Well, I'm sure you can, but at least not for a very reasonable price. So, you know, we'll just build a rough wrench, maybe out of 3/8 flat stock, and cut it out and get it to fit. So right now we're going to lock this down and take off some flats off of both sides. For the moment, what I'm going to do is set it up on a couple of lathe bits that are equal in size, and that'll give me the off the table stability that I'm looking for. I guess I need to get right there so I can, let's see, where did that, yeah, it's right there. So we're going to put not a toe clamp down, but just a bolt and a nut. I'm guessing this will fit just fine. And looks good. Do the trick. That'll kind of get us locked in. I think that's good. So we're just going to take two sides off. Oops, we need to move this over just a little bit. I think that's going to do the trick. So for now, we'll get a mill bit and trade it out for the drill chuck right now. And you know, you don't need to watch that. We'll come back in a minute. Okay, so we're going to take a roughing bit and go and face this off. And then we'll come back in with a finishing bit. So for the moment, let's crank it up. We're going to bring it over to 0. There's 0. Take another 30. Okay, so we've got ourselves a nice square cut there for a tool to come in and turn this as a nut. We're going to do the other one. You don't need to watch the second one, and we'll be back when that's finished. Okay, we've got our two nuts. ready and raring to go. I believe we just go ahead and screw them on. And everything's going to be fine. Now, what I did was I put a little a mark on it, focusing the upward direction, because one edge of these is a little bit of a fight. So we're going with the easiest part of the fight. And in fact, I didn't do the other one. So I'm going to go over and do that. And then we'll move on to another part of this project. Okay, we're going to take this and we're going to drill a couple holes in it. One here and one there all the way through. But we need to center out the holes first. So I'm using my little tap follower. We're not doing a calculated thing here. We're just trying to get accurate on the actual hole itself. So dropping it down fairly close. Okay, so we've countersunk the hole, and now we're going to go ahead and start drilling. Okay, we're looking at this piece. I don't know. The fact is that this and this balance each other out. This whole plate is on a pivot, so they're fairly well balanced. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of out of balancedness, but that should be okay. We are looking at 20. I think it was 22 inches. And my lathe goes to 24. So this extra half or 3/4 of an inch that sticks out right here is going to be okay, but just barely. So, and this is fairly well centered at this point. Now, once we get it up there, we'll know. Now, the other thing is that including the faceplate and the chuck that the faceplate sits on, we've got 9.5 inches depth-wise. And guess what? My gap is 10 inches. So I got a 1/2 inch from here. And probably what I'm going to have to do is put flathead bolts in there just to kind of cover the, you know, just so I don't have anything extra hanging out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill holes in this, and I'm going to run my bolts down through the faceplate and the chuck to get it to grip here. And then this doesn't have a hole in it because at this point along in this area here where that hole is, there's nothing. But there is room, so probably what I'm going to do is drill a hole in this and then put a bolt here too. So then I'll have this as a clamp and a good strong bolt, probably put a good 1/2 inch bolt in there. And that's going to lock this in place. This is locked in place by the 2 holes there that go through the faceplate. And I think we'll have it. It's all up in the air though. It's, you know, it's crazy out at the very edge of my ability, of my machinery's ability. So, but we're there. I mean, we're within 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch in all directions. So, at this point, we're going to call it a day. We're going to think about it through the night and come back in the morning and drill these 2 holes and set up some kind of bracket for this, and then drill a single hole right down the center of that through the faceplate and set up a bolt through that. And my, oh my. Then we come in and bore this. this whole opening here will get bored out. And then we'll flip it and do the same thing over there. Sound like fun? Oh yeah. Heck yeah. Well, good morning. Nick Collier here. It's a beautiful Sunday morning here in sunny California, and today we can actually say that. We've got the continuation of this project. I'm going to swing you down so we can talk about what's going to happen next. So just drop down here. There we go. Let's back it up a little bit. Oops. There we go. So we've got, we're positioned fairly close. You know, we're going to tighten up the positioning once we get it up on the lathe. And I've drilled 2 holes in my piece of steel, and I've got a piece of all thread, and I've got a couple of nuts to put on that. Now what I'm going to do is just take the nuts and weld the end of the all thread to the nut, and then cut it to length and put the nut in the lathe and cut a taper on the nut so that when it sits, and then also going to cut a taper in the hole right here. So when this nut sits on top of this, it's going to be reasonably flush because we don't have that much extra room. So we're going to do that with these 2 pieces here, and then later on we'll come in and drill that hole and set something up for that. Then of course we're going to knock that tab off because that was for another part of the project. So stick with me. We're going to have a little fun. All right, we're not trying for a incredible weld or even a functional weld. All we want to do is make sure this nut isn't going to unscrew off of this all thread. So we're just going to fill in the top of this this nut. In fact, probably we can do it like this. Yeah, that should work out pretty good. Can you see that? Alright, we couldn't see, so we melted half of the nut away, but that's no big deal. Remember, this is going to get all machined down, so just add a little bit more nut and we're set to go. A little bit more to the nut and we're set to go. Okay, bring this one up. So there's just a bit of addition there. And that's a good looking second one. Okay, let's go back over to the faceplate and see what we can come up with lengthwise. Okay, so this one is going to go through the chuck. There's an old 4-jaw chuck behind here somewhere, and we're going to go through it right about here. So there's room underneath here for that. So I'm guessing if we come in here and we measure this, an inch or 2 long, we'll have plenty of nut. So we'll take that over the saw and cut it off, but you don't really need to see that, right? Okay, next thing we want to do is come in and chamfer these holes or countersink them. And hopefully my countersink is sharp enough to be able to do that. I think so. Well, my hand's going to be in the way, so we're going to put you in a different position here. How's that? Better? Well, better for me for sure. That's going to do good. Okay, we took a measurement and I believe it's a 60-degree taper. So we're going to cut 60 degrees here. Okay, that's pretty good too. Let's go back over to the faceplate and see how these worked out. Okay, we got our piece in place, and let's just see how this is gonna work. Drop that one down there and run a nut behind that. Okay, so what I needed was a washer that didn't have a big diameter. So I went and got a lock washer and just took the lock part out just by bending this back and making it flat. So we don't have to fight with this thing to get it back off. And now, let's put it in and see how it's going to work. It's looking good so far. Yeah. Okay, so we've got one bracket down. We need to drill a hole in that and put another nut in there, and that'll give us 3 points to hold this thing in place with. And I think that's probably going to be enough. So we will come back to that once I go get some lunch. Okay, we've got our cross bracket set, and of course not tight. Now come time to drill a hole in our backing plate and run a bolt through there. And I'm trying to get as centered as possible. That looks pretty good. All right, see the all thread coming through. Look how close it is to that four-jaw chuck. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this all thread and bend it around the four-jaw chuck, just kind of create a hook that'll kind of grip it. And I think that's going to get us what we want. And then come up from the other side and take a nut down on top there. All right, so we've heated up this end here. We're going to beat the shit out of it. Kind of flatten it out a bit. Take it over the edge. That'll give us a 90. And then we'll take it back around the back side of the anvil and swing that further. And that gives us a loop. That should do the trick. What do you think? Did all that in one heating, not too bad. So let's go quench it and see if it's going to hold. Okay, so we've got our piece of all thread. I cut it off, hopefully to length, and now we'll go ahead and take it up through the hole. And we've got that much. And that should be good. Now, what I think I want to do is go ahead and get another piece of this kind of stock here, maybe 1/4 inch or something like that, and actually drill it and thread it and be able to run that thread all the way down and then hacksaw the rest of this top off. So let's go ahead and get ourselves a piece of 1/4 inch stock here, and I'll be back for that. Okay, we built ourselves a nut out of some pretty thick stock. We'll slide our piece up inside of here. Okay, we'll take a pin and mark it. There we go. Let's take it over to the saw and cut that off, and I'll be back in a minute. All right, let's give it another try. See what we can come up with. All right, that looks pretty good to me. This is good. So I think what we'll do is go over and get a wrench or two. Let's tighten this one up first. Make sure we're not going to loosen up. Okay, that's pretty snug. Now come in and see if we can get to these and at least get them somewhat tight. Well, I don't think this thing's going to move. We can't really get to them until we get them in, get this thing in the air. So I think what I'll do is go ahead and snug everything down as much as possible, and we'll get it up in the air and then tighten them up. Back a little bit. And bring our camera back even more. And we're going to drop in here with my handy dandy little cherry picker. Let's see if we can get it down far enough. Kind of far enough. Just a little bit further. So I think what we'll do is get ourselves a chain, because those are sharp edges and a strap is not going to do it. So let me go get a chain and I'll be right back. All right, we're in position. We're ready to go. Let's just start jacking this up and see what happens. So it's going to give way here any second. There it goes. So next thing we want to do is come over and pull the gap in the lathe.